Welcome back to Monday Night Lights. Tim Hoffmeister alongside Lewis Schaefer, as always. We are on Google Hangouts and YouTube. You can watch us live on Google Hangouts. It's new. We're trying something different this year. It's much easier to upload. We usually tweet out when we're about to record, and you can do it that way. And it looks like on the side here, like you can ask us questions directly, or it looks pretty wild. So as we get more familiar with this, and as people start to listen live, we will give you more information, and we'll just play around with it because it looks pretty lit.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool so far.
Yeah, so it uploads right to YouTube, and that's where probably most of you guys are watching. We're getting a good viewership. We're very, very happy and blessed that you guys are listening to us. Please subscribe. The more subscribers lets us get found by other people, and the more people listen to us, the greater America will be.
Exactly.
All right, so first we're going to start off with the biggest news. Obviously, Muhammad Ali, formerly Cassius Clay, one of the best boxers of all time, if not the best, one of the most known athletes in the world, passed away at age 74. Very saddening. A lot of people have been giving their opinions. I watch ESPN 24/7, or when I'm home, I watch it all the time. I work, so I can't watch it 24/7. But basically, all I have to say is that I never saw him fight. I've seen videos of him, but the fact that he was liked by so many and known by so many, I mean, he is the best boxer of all time, and his humanitarianism, him being able to really have the same effect on so many people. Like, if you ask someone who met Ali, how was he? They say he's so nice, so grateful. He really is the perfect athlete. I mean, he was outspoken. He got his name out there. He backed it up, and he's just a nice guy. So sad to see him go, but with all his struggles and his sickness with Parkinson's, even Layla Ali, his daughter, said this. He's in a better place now.
Yeah, definitely tough to see him go. Like you said, we never got the chance to see him fight. But for me, you turn on ESPN Classic or whatever, and I mean, you see boxing now, and it's Mayweather, Pacquiao was up there until a couple of losses, and then everybody else, and they're half the size of heavyweights. And Ali was part of that big heavyweight division with him and Frazier and Foreman, and so it's tough to see him go, but you did the last couple of years, he'd make an appearance, and you'd kind of be like, it's Muhammad Ali, but it's not, it doesn't seem right because he was so, age got to him, and the Parkinson's disease and everything, it got to him. So yeah, definitely tough to see him go. But I would agree. He's definitely in a better place now.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone listening, if you're in the same position we are, just go watch the 1994 opening ceremonies in Atlanta when he lit the torch.
Yep.
If you don't get chills, there's something wrong with you, because if you don't understand what the impact that he had was, or how many people liked him, that stadium erupts, and it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen, and I definitely would say check it out. And his fights too. I mean, he was awesome, especially his fight against Sonny Liston.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a middleweight in a heavyweight's body. He's like when you get like a big guy on a football field, and then you actually get him in open field, and he actually shows some speed, and you're like, how can a guy that big run that fast? You said the same thing with Ali. Like, how can a guy that big move his feet that quick? So, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, right?
Yep.
All right, so we'll go to some NBA now. We'll talk about Cavs Warriors, and we may not be talking about it next week because right now it's not looking good for LeBron and the Cavs. LeBron haters are quiet, and I really hope we get some to comment on our post or even tweet at us. I would love to hear what they have to say because I think they're some of the greatest fans in sports because they have the most excuses.
Yeah.
Like eventually, after certain points, like there's like I understand certain excuses, but then there's a certain point you hit when like you realize like, oh well, maybe all that great that you realize like, all right, and then you kind of take a step back. But LeBron fans just keep coming at you, so I would love to hear from them. Tweet at @don'thassle_Hoff or at Schaefer500 or at official MNL.
Yeah.
I want to hear some of this stuff. I mean, Ike Reese was going like quoting LeBron fans, and I thought it was hilarious last night. But let's talk about the games. I don't believe we talked about any games, right? Yeah. Last time we recorded, it was going into the Game 7 for the Warriors Thunder. My odd prediction did not pan out. I think my Anderson Varejao double-double was closer than Steve Adams being the lead scorer.
Yeah. I mean, double-double, is that like, oh, he gets a ring either way? I mean, you can go that way.
Yeah, true. But, yeah, let's Game 1, it was the Warriors out early. It was kind of different than what the Warriors were doing against the Thunder, where the Thunder would come in early, then the Warriors would come back, and then it was like, all right, let's see where it goes from here, where the Warriors jumped out to a big lead, and then just Kevin Love went off. The Cavs got back into the game, and then all of a sudden it was more Livingston and Leandro Barbosa, and I'm starting the campaign for Barbosa for MVP. We're going to start using that hashtag. Yeah, but just after you see that first game and you saw Curry and Thompson only combined for 20 points or something crazy like that, I think it might have been 20, you're thinking, well, that was an 11-point game or whatever it was. It was double digits, and you're thinking, well, what chance do they have? Because Kevin Love just went off, and then it was like, all right, well, LeBron and Kyrie didn't shoot that great. Channing Frye's had great playoffs so far, and he didn't really do anything. Richard Jefferson was quiet. So then it was like, all right, well, let's see. Or Smith was quiet. And I was like, all right, well, LeBron's undefeated in the second game. Let's see what he can do. And then it was bad. I mean, Kevin Love went out early with the injury, but did not look like he was doing anything at all. He had 5 points in 21 minutes. So, I mean, if you give him 20 more, which I don't think he would have hit 42 anyway, he would have had 10 points if you just double the stats. So LeBron had 7 turnovers. This is looking like a sweep at this point.
Yeah. This after last night, this series got ugly quickly. I mean, looking at it, I mean, like you said, they just blew them out in Game 2. There was no explanation for it other than the Cavs just didn't play to their capability. The Game 1 was the most impressive game for me because, I mean, we said it all year at school, you know, the difference if this Warrior team were to play the 95-96 Bulls and who would win is that bench, you know, and I know it's, you know, anybody that watches ESPN, this probably sounds like a broken record. You know, if you sit there and tell me, listen, Curry and Thompson are going to have 20, Cleveland's big three is going to combine for, I think it was 60, 65, 70 points in Game 1, who are you taking? I mean, you're going to take Cleveland. But, Livingston and Barbosa just – and, I mean, Iguodala being able to play his caliber of defense off the bench on a LeBron or on a Kyrie when need be is just an asset that it's an advantage that Golden State's a great advantage to have.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah,
and then especially you look at, like, the fact that we started questioning the Warriors' defense when it came to facing Oklahoma City and even Portland, because Portland, a very good scoring team. And then we never questioned the Cavs' defense because they were scoring so much, and some of the teams they were playing just couldn't really put up points on you. And then all of a sudden it's changed to where the Warriors' defense is awesome, their offense is awesome, and the Cavs are struggling on both ends.
Yeah. I do. I think the Oklahoma City series was a wake-up call. You know, listen, we just struggled and went 7 games, and we're down 3-1 against an Oklahoma City team that, I mean, you could easily consider is inferior to Cleveland. I mean, I hate him, but I take LeBron over KD just because he could do more with the ball. You know, Kyrie's a better shot taker. It would be closer to Westbrook, and then I'd take Love over an Ibaka or Adams. You know, in a couple of factors, they're a superior team to Oklahoma City, and Oklahoma City took Golden State 7, and if they had any sort of ability to close out a game, this is Cavs Thunder in the finals. I mean, it's LeBron. He can close. I know from the knock is still there. He can't close out a game, but I mean he can. He knows what he needs to do when it's time to win the game. It's just got to be close. I mean, they've just blown them out late in the game in game one with the bench, and then just in every facet last night. Cleveland looked lifeless out there. There was no explanation for it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And I think if you look at who to blame, I think you got to blame LeBron. I think he should get most of the blame. But I would give some of it to Tyronn Lue, and I'll get to Lue a little later. But I look at LeBron, and he's the best player in the world, arguably. I'd probably give it to him. But when you look at him in this series, you're thinking, what is he doing? 19.7 turnovers, but every time he drove to the basket is easy layup. I don't know if it's just him thinking too highly of himself or trusting too much in his teammates, but I mean, there was one play when it was a 2-on-2, and Curry was back. And Curry had 3 fouls, and I believe it was the third quarter. And Curry was backpedaling. And instead of LeBron taking Curry, he decided to throw cross court. I don't know who he threw it to, but he threw it over their head, out of bounds, turnover. Where if he takes Curry, best case scenario is a 3-point play. Curry gets his 4th foul. Curry gets his 4th foul. And I just couldn't wrap my head around why he would do that. And I think it's because he has Irving and Love. Like, I think he thinks, well, I have a team now around me, or people want me to use my teammates. I'm trying to use them instead of him just taking over a game like we saw him last year, win 2 games single-handedly.
Yeah, and I think that comes from, he says he doesn't listen to the media and everything. It's out there. You're going to hear it. I do. I think that's, I mean, how many times do people say, oh, he's not using his teammates enough or whatever. And I think part of that is playing in Miami a bit because, I mean, the way it's starting to look, most days of the week I would take when they first formed and didn't have all the injuries piled up, like the Miami Big Three over this one in Cleveland. And, you had Chris Bosh, who was a star in Toronto, and Dwayne Wade, who had won a championship in Miami, and you were adding LeBron. Now you got Love, who, I mean, in Minnesota hadn't been to the playoffs. Kyrie, who has had his injury issues in the past. I think there's just, he's playing with lesser caliber players. Not that Kyrie and Kevin Love aren't good, but I just think that Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh were better. And when LeBron would defer and pass, when we know he could take over a game. Like you said, he did it for 2 wins last year. There's a factor for me that he played with better teammates in Miami and may think that he can do the same things they did in Miami, getting Love and Kyrie and J.R. Smith and Shumpert involved. But he's just not playing with as good of players as he had in Miami. He's passing to J.R. Smith, not Ray Allen. So I think that plays a factor because his mind works one way, and that's, I'm going to get my points, but I'm also going to get my assists because I'm going to pass the ball. But he's just not playing with the caliber of player that he had in Miami.
Yeah, I also think you have to look at his leadership. I mean, if this does turn out to be what we all think it'll be, I think he'll be 2-6 in the finals.
Yeah.
And he's lost by 30. This is not his first time losing by 30 points in the finals. I believe it's his fourth time. And you have to look at LeBron and say, well, when were you able to win a championship? It was when you had Dwayne Wade, who I think is one of the best leaders in the NBA.
Yeah.
And LeBron respects the crap out of him. And now you look at LeBron has to be the leader. And he's not really doing a good job of it, because you look at Kevin Love, he's not a leader. I mean, he had double-doubles in Minnesota. He was a machine, 20-20 guy, and, they couldn't get over 30 wins. And then when LeBron left Kyrie originally, or they left and they drafted Kyrie, he couldn't take a team and get over 30 wins. So you're looking at who he's with. He's with good players, but are they leaders? And I think that's what's hurting him. It's because he's not – I don't know if he doesn't want to be, or he just isn't – he doesn't have a knack for it. He's just not a good leader. And having Wade there, being the leader, helped 100%. And now you look at Irving and Love, and neither of those guys are going to be a leader. So it has to fall on LeBron, and it's fallen far.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's no for. There's obviously a hole somewhere. I think we may have just hit on it. You got two guys in Kyrie and Love that were. I don't think Love ever made the playoffs. Yeah, no. Cleveland was his first time. So you have two guys hadn't made the playoffs until they came to Cleveland with LeBron. Meanwhile, when Miami was formed, you had Chris Bosh who, they got like the 3 or 4 seed the one year when they had him in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, Dwayne Wade, who had chip already in 06 with Shaq. I think Kyrie and Kevin Love don't have that winning mindset and what it takes. They don't. I don't think they know what they need to do to get over the hump in the games against a tough team. This isn't the first time. Golden State blew them out in the regular season too on Christmas. So it's there's and it's Kyrie and Kevin Love. LeBron showed it last year in the finals. Without them, he can still win a game or two. But it's, Kyrie and Kevin Love have to be able to get over that hump if they want to win anything at any point with LeBron, if he sticks around after this.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. If I'm LeBron right now, I'm looking like, hey, I may have to go somewhere else because I don't know if I can be a leader. And maybe that's something he can eventually become, a leader. But right now he's not. One of those moves that LeBron made, I know he's always said he's the GM. He likes to get into personnel things. One of those moves was getting Tyronn Lue the head coach. And it wasn't a very good one because I got a bone to pick with Tyronn Lue. Not only does he look like a deer in headlights 90% of the game, but, if you look at the Oklahoma City series. You yourself said Oklahoma City, you don't think they're as good as Cleveland. What did Oklahoma City do to beat the Warriors in 3 games? They didn't go small ball and try and match up with them. If they went big, they said, we're going to out-rebound you, and then we're going to we don't have to match you on offense because a lot of our rebounds are going to be offensive rebounds, and we're going to be able to put it back. And that pushed the Warriors to the brink. And the fact that Lou is going small, thinking that, oh, well, my small lineup is going to be better than the Warriors. Well, it's not, because the Warriors have the best record ever with that lineup.
Yeah. Well, before I get into this, just because it was 15 years ago today, I just want to throw this up on the video while we're on. 15 years ago today, to make things worse for Tyronn Lue, this happened.
Oh, yeah.
So there's that.
I love it.
So there's that. Let's start there for Tyronn Lue today. But he looks lost. Blatt was in the same situation last year. You know, it had gone 1-1 the first two games because LeBron won game 2. But David Blatt was a rookie head coach last year in his first finals, and he didn't look this bad. I mean,
no, because he wasn't stupid enough to decide to put like Channing Frye on Draymond Green. He put out there, he said, all right, like, we're going to have some mismatches. That's fine, but I'm going to have Mozgov in there to get 15 boards. And a lot of them are going to be offensive rebounds because when you go small, Mozgov is still going to bully your smalls. And that's what the Thunder did. And that's what the Cavs have to do. That's what teams have to do to beat the Warriors. And yes, they're really good, so it's going to be tough, but I think that gives you the best chance. And the Thunder showed that.
Yeah. I mean,
and by the way, Allen Iverson went for 48 in that game.
But I mean, the fact that he's got nothing. I mean, like you said, Oklahoma City just took them 7 and they didn't win. But they figured out something where they had, you know, game 6 was close until they choked. You know, game 7 was pretty clean. Every game, with the exception of like the first 2 in that series, were close games, regardless of which way they fell. And the fact that Lou can't get anything from that, and he may be trying it might just not be working. But I mean, he's got to have something. I mean, the amount that, you know, around the league, teams just tried to figure something out to stop them in Golden State, whether it was OKC, San Antonio. Teams tried to figure out something. You can't tell me you have absolutely nothing, no book whatsoever on trying to stop the Warriors and take at least one so you don't get swept.
Yeah, and it's not like a team like the Warriors was back in like the 80s where like a team had to match up against them where Lou has to do a lot of homework. Lou has to literally watch like NBA Network, and when the replays come of the conference finals, that's your answer. Go big. Like, that's all you have to do. And it really blows my mind. And I mean, I just don't know if that's not what LeBron wants to do, or he just I don't understand why they're not doing the obvious thing that had success in the previous series. Like, it wasn't that long ago. It was a week ago. That's how long.
Yeah.
Like, we remember it because we did a podcast. I don't know why Tyronn Lue can't.
Yeah, exactly.
One more thing I want to say before we go to the NHL. Gives me a Jay Cutler vibe. Like, he's really good at some points. He's really bad at other points, but his facial expression never changed, and he just doesn't look interested at all.
Who, Kyrie?
Kyrie Irving. He's got a Jay Cutler look to him.
Yeah. Well, I saw a picture of him yesterday. It was like,
I was like, holy crap, NBA.
Yeah. I saw a picture of him yesterday. It was really funny. It was on the bench, like during a timeout during game 2. And he had like a look on his face, and he was looking over at LeBron, like, and I think the caption was like, "We didn't want you here in the first place," or something along those lines. But he does. He's got like the Connor Cook to him, just the resting bitch face that just it's.
I'm telling you, it's just like there's just no like it doesn't change at all. And I think we got to start like an all Jay Cutler team, like for like every sports. Like I'm sure every sports has their own Jay Cutler, and I'm sure we'll figure it out eventually. We got 2 down, so. But let's change to the NHL right now, and me and Lewis aren't very excited to talk about this because it is 2-1 Penn's lead in the series, and I believe, as I get the notifications on my phone, it is 1-0 as we speak. Hopefully it's changed by the time you're watching this. That would be a blast, but it's actually, this series is pretty close, and it really is a battle of two opposites. You have like a young, quick team in Pittsburgh, and then you have just the old, methodical, we're going to hit you, we're tough, we got the long beards, like we've been playing hockey for 18 years each kind of approach for San Jose.
Yeah, it has. It's been fun to watch. Not so fun to see the results, like you said, with Pittsburgh having 2 so far. We'll see how it goes tonight. But I really like. I like watching them. I've liked watching the Sharks through the whole playoffs. I kind of got on their bandwagon after the Rangers got knocked out by Pittsburgh. Coach, like anybody but Pittsburgh, please. And you know. I think the Sharks beat the Kings, and I still am bitter towards the Kings for 2 years ago. So there's that.
I love the Kings 2 years ago.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. I like the Hawks for what is it, 5 years ago? So,
nothing to do with the finals, but I'm just flipping through channels the other day on Sunday, and I see the NHL Stanley Cup's best moment. And I was like, oh, and then Jaden sits down. I was like, hey, Dad, look what I found. It was like a Gretzky moment. And then like number 11 out of like the top 40 James goal. And I was like, well, this just ruined my day. And I turned it off immediately. Like it was terrible.
Now you know how I feel anytime I watch like a highlight reel of like kick returns of partners, and I know it's coming. Like I know Miracle in the Meadowlands 2 is coming, and I'm just like, I have to just keep my toes because I skip over it. I just forward on YouTube. But yeah, I've liked watching the Sharks so far. I hope they could tie it today, and hopefully take the series. I would like to see it go 7, just because I like Game 7s, and I'd like to be able to go out and just know that I'm going to see a champion when I watch the game. Either way, but I like the Sharks. I like their beards. That's one of the major factors why I like the Sharks. But I mean, with me, it's like they were always like a first round exit. They were like Vancouver. Them in Vancouver would seem to run into the Hawks or Kings or someone, and just get knocked out first round every year, every time they made it. So it's good to see them in it and to go this far. So they definitely my sport.
Yeah, and they kind of got – it's not like the greatest kind of like 2013 with Boston. Long beards, like no one really gave them – like no one was like, all right, these are legit cup contenders. And then now they're here. Obviously, Boston won it. Obviously, San Jose didn't go first to worst or worst to first, and they didn't have like nobody's playing great for them. But just kind of like the same way the big beards, and really no one thought San would make it to the cup or thought they were legit cup contenders, because every year it's the same story. So I kind of like that. I like the big beards, and I don't like Pittsburgh. So I would like to see it go 7. I agree with you, because it's been a fun series. I mean, games have been great to watch. Just hope the Sharks can come out on top, but I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting though. It's the young goaltenders. Excuse me, I don't know what I said there. But you have Martin Jones for San Jose, and then Bergen, especially for Murray, he takes Fleury's spot, and it's interesting to see if Marc-Andre Fleury returns for Pittsburgh next year, and we talked about it a little. But I mean, if Murray keeps playing and they win, I can see Fleury leaving, and he could become like Bobby Bolin, where he had that championship year with Tampa Bay and then just kind of fell off the face of the earth. Fleury could kind of really have the same thing. Obviously, it was spanned out more, but I mean, it seems like goaltenders, if they become great in one spot, it's really hard for them to do the same thing in another place, if that makes sense. I mean, you look at goalies, they leave, and what have they done?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you look at a couple. I mean, Miller, he left Buffalo and hasn't really done much of anything since. Trying to think of other ones that stick out in my head.
I mean,
Brizgalov, Schneider, yeah. So
yeah.
there's a bunch of them that really have
Any
not,
goalie the Flyers have done in the past 10 years.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you've had a couple good ones. I mean, you've had trying to think of some of them. I mean, Bobrovsky going to club. I mean, he hasn't done much since, but winning the Vezina, his first year in Columbus after you guys dealt him there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Can't really think of any others. Good goalies don't switch that often.
Yeah.
You know, it's
and
kind of like
usually
a cornerstone player on a baseball team.
Yeah, and if they usually switch their young goalie that hasn't really hit their stride yet, like Martin Jones, and he's hitting his stride now with San Jose.
Yeah.
It turns out, and then to Lewis's favorite topic, we were talking before the show. I decided to save this topic for last, just in case Lewis gets too emotional, and we have to cut the podcast. They're sitting in second place still. I believe they're 4 back. Right? Or 5 back after the loss last night. Whatever. They're 4 or 5 back.
Yeah.
But the main reason has been the offense. Reason for that because of injuries to Lucas Duda, now David Wright, but also the fact that they haven't been able to hit really since last, I don't know, I guess you could say June. They signed James Loney, or they traded for James Loney from the Padres for cash or a lower-level prospect, or he had an opt-out they might have signed. But maybe too early to look at, but at the same time, it's pitching. So, Lewis, I got to ask you, do they have to make a move for some hitting?
What was that, Tim? It was breaking up there.
Oh, man.
You started asking me a question. You started, asking me the question, then it started getting, buffering.
That was probably the best question I ever asked. That was nice and smooth. It was well thought out. I was on a roll. This is why we got to go.
Okay,
we got to
Big two.
We got to get back in the studio. But mainly I asked the fact that it's maybe a little too early to make a move, but the White Sox just made a move with James Shields acquiring him from the Padres. Is it time to make a move for offense? Do you think it's necessary? Who do they look at? And when do they look at it?
Okay. I don't think it's too late because you don't want to fall too far behind the Nationals. You don't want to, last year they were only, about this far away when they traded for Cespedes, and he had his blow up and, 17 home runs in 2.5 months or something like that. So I don't think it's too late because you don't want to fall too far behind, and the injuries are starting to pile up. The key thing is that they need to replace these guys with people that have played in the major leagues. I don't want to see Dilson Herrera playing third base, trying third base. No, get major league talent. I'm not saying go out and give up, Thor to go get Chris Bryant because Dave Wright's hurt, but you got to look at teams that are rebuilding. I mean, that would just be looking to acquire a young piece for a guy that might not be on the team too much longer. One name that I've seen is Trevor Plouffe from the Twins. He's a possibility at third. Supposedly they're going to get Darno back rather soon. I think I saw next week he's going to begin his rehab games, so he's not that far off, even though Rivera's played well in his absence, but he doesn't put up the offensive numbers that Darno does. But it's really just trying to stay ahead of it. Obviously, if the whole team is on the DL, there's nothing you can do about it. But, Cespedes has been banged up. Lagares gets hurt, making an amazing play against Miami. But he'll be back. They said today he's not going on the DL. So we dodged a bullet there. But, I mean, I like that Loney deal because you got him for nothing. You got him for his salary, essentially. And, again, he's played in the major leagues. We're not calling up Eric Campbell and hoping he can play every day. So I would say, if they can make a move for a third baseman, I think that would be the move I make. I don't care what caliber it is. If they want to go bring back Juan Uribe like they did last year, bring him in just to play until Wright's healthy, sure, he's played in the major leagues. You just need guys that have been here in the major leagues before and have had some success. I'm not saying go trade for, Mike Gold or Will Middlebrooks, but, a Uribe would be nice, a Plouffe, trying to think of some other ones. I mean, they need someone to play third. I think that's the hole that you have to look at because if dude is a free agent after this year, so you have the possibility of if we go pull off a huge trade, let's just say, and I know this is like wishful thinking, but I'm just throwing it out because it's the name that's on my head. If they were to go pull the trigger for someone like Longoria, okay, we have him. We'll start working. If you have to shut down Wright for the season, you shut down Wright for the season, and then in spring you could start working on him on Wright at first. I would say go to third base. There's no other real spot to upgrade. I mean, you could upgrade over Loney, don't get me wrong. But I'm much happier with Loney playing with a good third baseman than Ty Kelly, who they called up from Vegas, playing with a Freddie Freeman or something along those lines. So they need to just replace these guys that are going down with major league talent. They have the arms. We contended up until the end of July last year with just the arms, with just the pitching. So, after the All-Star break, you get Wheeler back, that pitching gets even stronger. So, that would be the key thing for me. I'm not looking, like I said, I'm not looking towards a major splash. I'm not expecting Chris Bryant to be a Met. But get someone who's played in the major leagues before. I don't want to see Ty Kelly or Will Middlebrooks or someone playing third base in Queens.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and even when I look at it, I would probably say Uribe is a little less than what I would want. Because Loney's not much of an offensive threat. He's a very good defensive first baseman. I mean, he's really struggled to make the majors this year. So, I mean, you don't know who he's going to become. Definitely think you want to look at a bat. I do like Trevor Plouffe. I think that would be ideal for you guys. But then other names, like even like a Solarte from San Diego. One name that I think the Mets should really target, and I kind of don't want to say it on the podcast because I love him so much and I don't want to see him be a Met, is Danny Valencia with the Oakland Athletics. He's got big time pop. He really reinvented himself in Oakland. I like him a lot. He can play third and first. I think that gives you versatility.
Yeah.
But it's something like I think that you want to go with a guy who can make an impact, but not a guy that's going to cost you a lot. And also the thing that I struggle with is thinking, all right, well, you have Loney, and you want to go third base because Wright's down for probably 8 weeks. But at the same time, it's Duda's a free agent. What if we upgrade now at first and then move along from Duda? Or, I mean, I don't know if they're going to be thinking like that, but it's a possibility. Like, if they have a good offer, I mean, they might be doing that. And, I mean, I guess Duda could play the outfield once in a while. Or Duda could be in the deal. So, I mean, I think it should be a third base option, but I don't know. I think you have to look at all options if you're the Mets at this point. That offense is just really, really bad. I think the only offense is worse than the Mets right now are the Braves and the Phillies. And I think the Mets have been worse than the Braves since like 3 to 4 weeks ago or something like that. I saw a tweet about it. It's nuts. And listen, I get the pitching's great and all, but you saw what happened when you faced a guy like Jose Fernandez. Your pitching can be great, but you lose the game 1-0. So I think there's a move they got to look at. The only problem is, I think, is that not many teams are out of it at this point. I mean, the A's are always looking to trade people, but they're not out of it. Then you have the Twins with Plouffe. They're basically out of it. But then you look at other teams, look at every other division, you're thinking, well, you could look at Chris Carter for power. He would be cheap, but Milwaukee's not really out of it. You could look at a guy like – I'm trying to think of other teams now. I just totally blanked on them. But like guys, but like I said, no one's really out of it yet other than the Twins at this point. So that makes it tough for the Mets because if a team thinks they're still in it, they're going to ask for more, and the Mets may feel pressured to do that because it's better to make the move early than late. So I think that'll have a big impact on it.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't think their trade's going to come tomorrow by any means. I think they're going to try to do what they did last year for a little bit and bide their time with the pitching. But I think they need to get a guy. If they're going to get someone, I like Chris Carter. I think he'll be a nice replacement at first base. He's an upgrade over Loney, and if the due to injuries, ends up being more serious, and it is right now, you have to have it covered. But they need to get a guy that just gets on. They have too many guys that, it's a home run or it's a strikeout. At this point in the season, Cespedes, Granderson, Conforto's in a god-awful slump. They add Loney, who's a singles hitter. I like that. Add a guy just to, get him in front of your Cespedeses and, maybe bat him at the bottom of the lineup. Bat him 7 or 8. He gets on. Maybe the 8 hitter gets on. Pitcher bunts him over. Now you got Granderson trying to drive him home. So they need guys that can just get on base. You have plenty of home run power. But, I mean, look at the O's. I mean, they've had so many good teams, but it's been, Chris Davis, Nelson Cruz, Adam Jones, Nick Markakis, who are all, in Baltimore at least, home run guys. And Kansas City, especially with Chris Young, showed that you can stop that. Keep the ball low, and they're not going to take it. They're not going to take it yard as much as they do. But, that's the way we buried the Cubs in the NLCS was because Murphy was just going off on home runs. They need a guy that just can get on base and just give, Cespedes and Granderson and Conforto when he gets going, someone to drive in instead of it being, have it be a 2-3 run home run instead of a solo shot every time they go yard.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And we're getting close to that time, and I'm super excited. MLB trade deadline time is my favorite. I love baseball because of the amount of player movement, and we will keep tracking that on Monday Night Lights. Let me just get your picks. I know we're already 2 games into the Warriors. I put my pick on Twitter. I'm going Warriors in 5 because I think LeBron will get one in Cleveland. I mean, if he doesn't, they may be burning his jerseys before he even switches teams.
Yeah, I would go Warriors in 5 also. I think Cleveland takes 1. I think it will mostly be I think Golden State takes game 3. I think Cleveland takes game 4. A combination of LeBron coming out because he doesn't want to get swept and Golden State wanting to win it because game 5 would be in Golden State, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so Golden State wanting to win it in Oracle.
Yeah, and I would like them to win it in Oracle as well, even though I would like to see them sweep the Cavs as well. I like the Sharks in 7, mainly because I want to see the series go 7 and because I don't like the Penguins.
Yep, same with me. Sharks in 7.
And I'm going to go with the Mets don't make the playoffs.
I think they will.
I'm pretty sure my picks in the beginning of the season I didn't have them, but I mean, if they fix that offense, you saw what one player can do with Cespedes. I mean, if they get anywhere half that impact that they had last year with Cespedes, I think it can really change their whole season and really give them the momentum that they had last year.
Yeah. Plus, you get the All-Star game, so I think they'll be fine. I think they just need someone, like I said, a major league ball player to play third base. It doesn't need to be Chris Bryant. It doesn't need to be Longoria. Get me Trevor Plouffe, and I'll be perfectly content.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be great for you guys. And, I mean, I guess it all comes down to what would it cost. May cost you a guy like Dilson Herrera. May cost you a top arm. We never know because it's not all about the quality of the player. It's about the demand. If a lot of teams are in on Trevor Plouffe, you never know. So we will continue monitoring the Mets' offense and possible moves. And by the time we get back here next week, I'm pretty sure 1 series may be over, maybe 2. We will have to see, and we will have all the inside info and our expert opinions. Thanks for joining us on Monday Night Lights this week. It was a blast, like always. We'll be back here next week. Thanks a lot for listening.